I'm surprised that as a fanfic writer, you weren't like, I love this record that is essentially just vampire fanfic.
No, because I wrote Twilight fan fiction, okay?
I know. When We Were Young, 2024, all album plays. We've heard albums before. We've listened to a couple.
It's really crazy how much we actually have listened to, you know?
We will be attending When We Were Young. There are some albums we know very well. There are some albums we've never heard. Some that I know, some that you know, some that we both know.
Nobody knows, actually.
Nobody knows.
Yeah.
We are doing reviews of every record that is being played at When We Were Young 2024. We're going down them all 56. And on today's episode, we are talking about Atreyu's The Curse.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah. So before we get into our review of it, Lizzie, do you want to give us a little bit of background on this record?
Yeah. So The Curse was the second full length from Atreyu. It was released on June 29, 2004 on Victory Records.
Hell yeah, it was.
So that's a whole other issue entirely.
We're not talking about Victory on this.
So the singles that came off of there were Bleed Mascara, Right Side of the Bed, and The Crimson. Right Side of the Bed and Crimson were played on MTV2 and Fuse.
Yes, they were.
And this album went gold on September 14th, 2020. Mm-hmm. So still in a lot of people's heavy rotation. Best Buy had a limited edition with a cover of You Give Love a Bad Name, which was featured on the Mr. and Mrs. Smith soundtrack.
Yes, it was. I bought that record from Best Buy.
Shut up.
I bought this record on a whim. I was like, yeah, because this was at the time.
Yeah.
The limited edition came out. I think I saw them on like the Warped Tour lineup, and I went to Best Buy, bought the limited edition, numbered, limited edition numbered.
Yeah, they
CD
said it was like only like
30,000. Yeah, so I have one of those somewhere.
Rip Best Buy, who just took off all physical media off their shelves.
Prayers up.
Never been forgotten. In 2005, they did a re-release with a DVD included, and it included their music videos from that album. And they also had an instrumental version that was only on iTunes.
More recently, the singer, I don't know exactly when he left, but Alex was the original screamer on this record. He left the band. So now the band is doing it with just the drummer who was singing on this record. He is now taking lead vocals. So this record being the one that they are playing at When We Were Young is interesting because it is without that original screamer in the band. He's done an interview recently where he's talked a little bit about the band. It does not sound as though he's going to come back anytime soon. So I do find it interesting that this is the record they're going to do. He will not be there, and I don't know. We'll see how that goes.
I wonder if there's enough people who are going to be at the fest who would know a lot about that in general. Like, who are really involved in the scene to that extent, or they're just going to be like, yeah, I'm here to listen to the
Atreyu
music.
has done more. I don't think they've done more without him. And I don't think they've done some of their best work without him. I think that they're just doing it anyway.
Just to do it.
This is probably their most identifiable record.
Okay.
Although I will say, before we get into my review of this record, that they had some more, I think, profitable records after this that were more mainstream, and I think production was generally better on them. All right, well, let's get into our reviews of this record, but before we do, we are talking about every record that's being played at When We Were Young. So if you're liking these reviews, if you're enjoying the background, if you're enjoying some information about records that maybe you haven't heard, make sure to subscribe. We are going to be talking about all of them. So you'll want to know when we drop the next one and all the ones coming up. So yeah, subscribe, do it, or you'll miss out on the whole thing.
You'll have bad vibes.
The festival won't even know you're there. All right. So let me tell you what I think about this record.
Damn.
I love this record.
When
I bought it from Best Buy, I got it and I was like, all right, I don't know. This is going to be just like a random CD that I bought without knowing it. And I was like, from minute one, I love this record. This is 04. This is pre a lot of bands that did a lot of big stuff in metalcore scene after this. This was very early in that metalcore,
right?
The metalcore days, the Warped Tour days. It is their second record, but I think this is where like they were getting a little bit more attention on them because of Warped Tour and stuff, that they had a little bit more behind this. I'm saying this to also understand that this is objectively a cringe as fuck record. The lyrics on this are super cringe.
Oh, yeah.
And it's all about like vampires and shit. And I'm like,
that's fine. We love vampires here.
yes. So that is by no means missed. I'm not missing that. But I may be looking at this with too much nostalgia goggles and saying this is so much fun. It's a dumb metalcore record that just has like a ton of breakdowns on it and a ton of like just catchy choruses, and the screaming parts are catchy too. So I'm just like, I was reminded how much I'm very much bought into this record. 3 of the standout tracks for me, Corseting was one of them. One of the like more like random tracks on this, but I felt that this is just like a very heavy, catchy. It has screaming in it, but the screaming itself is also catchy to sing along to.
Okay.
And that's what I liked about songs like Corseting and some other ones where they're bringing in poppy and catchy sensibilities into all of the parts of it, not just the singing parts for the choruses. Another song was the closer, 5 Vicodin, Chase with a Shot of Clarity. I think that song is just, it's this dumb metalcore, like raise your fist type song. And I'm like, God, this is so dumb. I love it. It's just, I love some of the cool drum parts they do. Nevada's Grace is another one that I really like.
Oh, sheesh.
The catchy drum parts on it. And although it's like stupid, I'm like, yeah, this is good. And Bleeding Mascara, the first real track on it after the introduction, I also dug. I still dig that one. It's so it's just a ripper. It's just like, I don't know, man. It's so dumb. This record is dumb as fuck, and I love it. This record is dumb as fuck, and I love it. The only song that I really like, still like, it's a little too cringe, is The Crimson. It's the lyric of
cringe is dead, remember?
Cringe is dead and I am free. But the lyric of I feel it welling up inside and Robert Smith lied, boys do cry is still one of the worst opening lines to a song I've ever heard. That's kind of
go hard though. Like
no, I hate it. I hate it. It like even now I still go, ooh.
Ooh. You know, that's like tattooed on somebody somewhere. You know it's tattooed on someone somewhere.
Somebody did it. Ending the song with my heart is dead and so are you. It's like, God, you were in my aim away message. Like it's like writing a song to be in your aim away message. It is insane. I still know every word to it, and I still sang along to it when I re-listened to it. I hate how much I still absolutely loved this record listening to it again. And all I'm going to do, this is just like the Black Parade. I love this record. Let me talk mad shit about everything on the record. And then I just end up being like, I'm jamming out. I'm like headbanging to myself, just listening to it again. I'm like, not a care in the world. Not a care in the world.
Not a care in your little cringe filled brain.
Yeah. So even the fact that The Crimson is still so cringy, I'm like, I'm still listening to it. I'm still playing it all the way through. Also, this has an introduction. It has an interlude. I just am not going to rate those. You don't
need to. It's just instrumental.
It's just there. I might skip it. I might not. But in the end, those aren't real tracks. Those aren't real songs. In summary, still love it. I know it's fucking cringe. I still love it.
Hate to be the bearer of bad news here, Bessie.
I know.
I want to preface out that I know you really like this album. My best friend really likes Atreyu too, and I just never got into it for one reason or another. It just never fell on my radar. And then I would just see them come out, and I'm like, yeah, I'm aware of this band.
I was way more into metalcore than I think you were around the same time.
I didn't get into metalcore until like only a few years ago.
Yeah, metalcore came first for me than a lot of the pop punk and emo stuff.
I did, yeah. I already don't like a lot of these heavier screams in general. Mm-hmm. A lot of times when I've heard a lot of these screams are from like more heavier metal bands, than this being more metalcore, it makes sense.
Yep.
And this being really early, it came out in like 2004. So it was like right out the gate. Yep. So it was already going to be more similar to what we would kind of classify more as like traditional metal than metalcore.
Correct, yeah.
Because it being like labeled metalcore to me, and I'm like, this doesn't sound like Bring Me the Horizon.
Right, yeah.
So when I was listening to it, I didn't like the screams or vocals, and like going throughout all of it, it just never got me. From the time I was in like high school and like getting really more into like the alt scene, I was like, this is not what I'm looking for. I like screams and I like in general, that being in there, and it can be a main part of a song, like the sound effects over dramatics. That's great.
Sure.
But that's like a different type of scream than this. And
Correct.
It just does not land on my ear really well. And I was really going through it, trying to listen.
Hell yeah.
And I thought this would hit me, but this absolutely did not. There are other stuff could hit me. I don't know. I've never listened to other Atreyu songs.
There are 2 records after this are definitely much better produced. I will also agree with you that his screaming on this is not that good, and it does get better on the next records.
I think it's also because majority of it is just straight screaming.
Yes. Yeah.
I still like to have a little bit of pockets of of just like you regular singing. My top songs that I was okay-ish with was Bright Side of the Bed, the Remembrance Ballad, because the intro reminds me of Frozen by Within Temptation.
Okay, yeah.
And Demonology and Heartache, because the intro
reminds me of Frozen by
of the very, very canceled band Aiden's I Set My Friends on Fire.
But let me tell you that when I was like, okay, I'm putting this on the queue, right? I'm like, Lizzie might love this because this is basically uncanceled Aiden. This is like vampires and horrorcore and shit.
But it's the screaming. It just does like the vampire. Love it. I love vampires. Love horrorcore. I think it's solely because of the screams. The screams cancel it out for me. To me, it sounds like it's too old school metal, which I don't like old school metal.
It has a lot of like, I even thought because they did the Bon Jovi cover, I was like, oh, this is like 80s metal. And I was like, hello?
Updated. Yeah, dude, I hate 80s metal. I hate 80s metal.
80s metal rules.
I hate 80s metal. Anyway, my least favorite was Bleeding Mascara.
Yeah.
Oh my God. How is that a single? Sorry, Brian, but Nevada's Grace, did not like it. And then My Sanity on the Funeral Pyre.
Yeah.
Did not like. Sorry,
it doesn't matter what song you say. I like this whole record.
I know you do. I wish I did with all with every content and theme that was in there. I thought I'd like it too.
I was like, no, this is Twilight fanfic. Lizzie's gonna love it.
Absolutely not. It changed the screams to be something not that. Thank you.
It's just louder Twilight fanfic.
No, it's not.
That's your favorite. I'm surprised that as a fanfic writer, you weren't like, I love this record that is essentially just vampire fanfic.
No, because I wrote Twilight fanfiction, okay?
I know. This is Twilight fanfiction.
It was not Twilight fanfiction.
This is Twilight fanfiction.
Maybe if the vocals were not those.
The lyrics to this are just Twilight fanfiction.
Well, that's fine for them.
I am cringe, but I am free.
Have better screaming that
It's fine.
Again, I don't like heavy metal. I don't like hair metal. I don't like most 80s music, actually.
It does have a lot of hair metal to it. And I see where you're like, yeah, it's not for me.
That's probably why in my ear, every time I hear something like that, I'm like, like, get it away from me. I don't like it.
I get it. I think you should just read the lyrics separately just to enjoy them as Twilight fanfic.
I feel like that's what makes me more upset. It's like I would enjoy this if this just wasn't. I mean, like the guitars, the riffs, that's fine. It's literally the voice.
Yeah.
And sorry, dude. Like you probably did well in your other stuff. I don't know. It just ain't it for me. It just ain't it for me. Now, maybe if like other screamers that we know in other bands redid it, I'd probably like it.
Well, that's what we thought. And I understand where Lizzie's coming from. I hope she understands where I'm coming from. Yeah. But you know who we want to understand where they're coming from is other people who have reviewed this record. We're going to look at a couple reviews from Amazon.com.
Of course we are.
Of this record. This first one comes from the Queen of Anonymity. This was reviewed in 2007. The title of the review is Awesome, 5 stars. This was the third Atreyu album that I've bought, and it might be the best. If you like raging, intense screaming alternated with awesome melodies, then you'll probably like Atreyu. And if you're already an established Atreyu fan, you'll probably love this album. Definitely a worthwhile purchase either way, and if you're a metal fan, metalcore especially, then you definitely want to check out Atreyu. Even if you've never listened to much metal, heck, I had literally never listened to metal except for 2 Atreyu songs I bought off iTunes before I bought my first Atreyu CD, and I love it. So anyway, The Curse is worth buying. Buy it now. The best song off it is probably The Crimson. Totally awesome. Melodies and screaming that have you yelling along, amazing lyrics, and everything else is done just right. The songs on this album, I thought, covered a wider range than on Suicide Notes and were as a whole better than on Death Grip. Yeah, awesome album and band. I can't wait for their new album to come out. Not Best of Atreyu, the one they haven't released the name for yet. Here is another review by Josh Bosley from 2014, written on February 14th, 2014. 4 stars. a great vampire love story metal concept album. This was my first Atreyu album. I didn't know what to expect. I knew they were metalcore, but they are a little more than that, or should I say a lot more than that. Blending heavy metalcore moments with infectious grooves and melodies blended together with sort of emo vocals at times, but not in a bad way, with sort of a moody goth vibe. Think The Cure and The Smiths meets Him blended with Pantera meets Killswitch Engage style metal. But the album tells a story, a concept album, if you will, about vampires way before Twilight, a very cool metal band. If you liked early Avenged Sevenfold, then you'll love this band. Oh. And I did, so that makes sense for you. All right. From 2005, Music Fan wrote a review called A Sad But True Trend. 2 stars. While their debut album continues to establish itself as an underground classic, their forthcoming album, The Curse, is set to take them to places their first album couldn't. The airwaves. The product description says it all. The airwaves. Victory helped make a soulless, overproduced album that had mainstream written all over it. Now, I like Suicide Notes, but this album is really bad. The lyrics scream, I want little girls to like us, and the musicianship isn't much better, which is a terrible shame. So many little hardcore girls like this band, and I don't blame them. Every lyric is written to suck them in. Heartbreak, blood, vampires, and revenge seems to hook these girls these days. If you don't believe me, check out My Chemical Romance. Same deal. The lyrics are weak on The Curse, but Atreyu's lyrics were never strong. I was hoping that on this album they would mature as lyricists, but instead they wrote worse. Here's hoping the next album has lyrical maturity. Does this make Atreyu horrible people? No, it doesn't. This album was made to gain a broader audience, and they've done that at the expense of their own dignity. Now that they have the broad audience they, or the record label, was looking for, I hope they will not undermine their own talents again. Atreyu should push their creativity and technical skills to a newer level with each new album, not churn out, for the most part, talentless music.
Wow, that's
Does this make them horrible people?
I really like how he's like, this is what the little hardcore girls want. Exactly.
But in 2004, like, it absolutely
all
was.
Girls do is
all girls do is like hardcore, eat hot chip and lie. When you hear that though, aren't you more like, well, I should like this record?
That's the thing, I should and I don't. And I'm going to tell you for this review here from an actual critic site why I don't. It's from Rolling Stone.
Hell yeah, Rolling Stone got it, mainstream.
From Kirk Miller, August 5th, 2004, 3 out of 5 stars. The call to arms for Southern California's Atreyu is metalcore, a newly dubbed genre that haphazardly fuses 80s metal bombastic with hardcore punk breakdowns and alternating scream singing vocals.
Yep.
Live, it's hella fun. Yep. On record, the results are more confused with dual vocalists Alex Varkatzis and Brandon Soller occasionally canceling each other out. But when the band sticks to melody and brings out the big arena rock drums on songs such as Right Side of the Bed, it creates true headbanging nirvana. And those solo guitars, pure awesomeness. The thing about it was the 80s metal.
Yeah.
So the next one is from our friends at Punk News.
No friend of mine.
No friend of yours. Well, PW Fanatic rated it 4 out of 5, so he might be your friend. I remember Suicide Notes and Butterfly Kisses had that sticker on the packaging that proclaimed Atreyu to be the perfect voice of metalcore or something like that. I still think that album is one of the better that the genre has seen, and so the new Atreyu album has been one of the ones I was more excited about hearing this year. The Curse is still the same Atreyu sound, but it almost seems that the band is going through an identity crisis of sorts. The album opens with a rather standard creepy organ, whispering voices, etc., which would seem useless except for it explodes directly into the first song, Bleeding Mascara. So as I sat there, violently headbanging away,
yes,
I noticed that by the time the song was coming towards the end, I had not ceased my headbanging. This is where the first portion of their identity crisis comes in, because in this song, Atreyu has seemingly tossed out the core of the genre and gone straight with metal. Now in Bleeding Mascara, the chorus is nice and melodic, but that's it. The rest of it has and In Flames much slower, The Haunted, and other Swedish metal influences. Mm-hmm. A lot of the other songs follow this incredible metal breakdown. Corseting is not something you can do anything but headbang to until your head rolls off. Although it is a very solid effort by the band, my one big problem is that the metal songs and the lesser metal songs are much too distinct. I thought the greatest part about Suicide Notes was how balanced Atreyu has been to combine metal and melody. But on The Curse, it seems that they either lost that ability or just plain didn't want it. They seem to be evolving more towards metal at some points, and at other points, there's an almost complete void of metal influences. A few songs like You Eclipsed by Me seem to have the balance right like their older albums did. The Curse is far from being a bad album. In fact, it is one of the better albums to come out this year. But I was expecting a little bit more from the boys of Atreyu. I would call it an evolution of the band, but they are not consistent enough for it to be a full evolution. Atreyu has still shown the metalcore can be awesome. And then I have one more that is literally just comments, but it's on Lamb Goat. The top comment is by No Cool Names Left, posted on 9/11/2004, and simply reads, "This band is gay."
It is fan fiction.
It's all fan. It all comes back together. Another one from Shadow of Chaos _ on 1/10/2005 says, "This band is amazing, and whoever thinks they suck can suck my balls." Very South Park.
Gay.
Here's another one, Tanner _ from 1/31/2005. All in caps, by the way, so imagine this in your mind, so they're screaming at you. Atreyu makes me want to throw up in my mouth and swallow it again. It's a poor excuse for metalcore or whatever the hell they try and do, and they should probably all die. I hope a lot of you people are okay.
The funniest thing is how they were trying to do more metal than metalcore.
Yeah.
So they were appealing to both the metalheads and objectively the young women who go to Warped Tour and love hardcore music, who will help make their band much bigger because women in the scene run it. So they're trying to impress both of them and somehow have impressed neither.
Yeah, nobody nobody likes any of this.
No one's having a good time.
So I'll give you this last one because it looks like they are from or were from the Chicago area. This is from Nashon _ on 10/13/2008. I saw them when they come to the Fireside Bowl Chicago a long time ago. No makeup back then. Then I see them a year later. Guess what? Makeup. They look like zombies. Makeup is gay. Marilyn Manson, Slipknot, and Mudvayne use makeup. Atreyu used makeup. Make your own assumptions. Atreyu is gay. Lead singer dove into audience and tried to serve, but crowd was punching him and he looked so scared. He had a tear in his eye and his makeup was running. I took his shoe off and threw it in the toilet.
What the fuck?
Oh my God.
Wow. And it's gay.
Well, apparently so is Slipknot and Mudvayne too.
That's crazy. That's awesome. You do your own assumptions. So pretty divisive on the reviews on this. Now, the question will be, should you go and see this album, this band at When We Were Young? The fact that the original Screamer is not going to be playing this with them does give me some hesitation.
Okay.
So I might go and check out the beginning of the set, see how it sounds, see what's going on. And if it's good, I'm probably going to be staying for the whole thing. If it's not good, I'll be like, you know what? I'm really glad they're doing it. I really like this record. But obviously, with a change in personnel in the band, if it's not good, it's not good. It is what it is. So I'm a maybe, hesitant on the new singer.
You're going to like check the vibe first.
I'll check the vibe.
You go.
I will definitely go and check this album out because I do really like this record.
I will not be attending.
You will not be attending. Yes.
So sorry to everybody involved.
Unsurprising. So that's what we think. That's where we'll be at this set at When We Were Young. Are we right? Are we wrong? Let us know. The comments are open. Maybe you're coming here from Lamb Goat and you want to leave some Lamb Goat as comments below. Yeah, you're from
all the way from 2001 to 2005.
So go ahead and leave the comments down there. We will we'll be happy to see them. Make sure to subscribe to see all the rest of the records that are coming. But we're going to be reviewing. Until then, until When We Were Young, until Atreyu, until The Curse, the Emo Social Club. We'll see you there.